So I've downloaded data for a new account that I'm managing and filled in the data for all these previous weeks of desktop, mobile, and tablet. So this is the data that was entered. Um, these are calculated fields or calculated columns. My convention is grey and blue to show it's a formula, and we can see it goes back to October 2017, and the campaigns have been paused for a good few weeks, and the client just enabled a couple of campaigns on Monday. Then I've gone in on the Tuesday, turned off search partners for one of the campaigns which I spotted was running. We don't really want that. Then today we've set the schedule from kind of 24 hours a day with various bid adjustments, like the bids are minus 50% at night time compared to during the day or whatever. We just set it to Monday to Friday 11 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. So this is a change log that I fill in. This sort of green area is like Google Ads, and for this account we're just running ads on the Google search engine. We don't want to run ads on the search partners. Some like search partners is in here, and we don't want to run ads on the display network. So I've looked at the account and I can see most of the volume is on mobile, so that's why I split it between desktop, mobile, and tablet. For other accounts I might be managing, I might not go down to device, and I might have this as search, like Google search engine, ads on Google, search partners here, display network, and then maybe YouTube. Actually, it's more likely search, display, YouTube, and then we can see what's going on each of those channels, or in this case devices, and then the business fills in what's going on here. So what I've noticed is conversion tracking isn't on. It seems to have been running better back then, and then it sort of died off here. So this is where the information from the business is very important, like how many phone calls are you getting per week, how many email inquiries, how many leads are you getting, how many clients or customers or sales. We can change that to whatever we want. That's the beauty of this. We can add more columns as well, and the business can give little clues like getting loads of phone calls but they're not converting because XYZ, and then we go, oh okay, and then we might be able to, from that little sniff of information, we might be able to go into campaigns and add negatives or change things or adjust things. Getting too many phone calls at the weekend that are not turning out to be any good or whatever. So we could change stuff here. So this is super important. And then if they put down the number of leads, or sorry, look at this. These phone calls, these are inquiries. Emails are inquiries. It's good to know how many phone calls we're getting and how many emails we're getting. The terminology for a business owner is that a lead is somebody, a call or inquiry that's good enough to be classified as a lead, maybe go into their system as a lead, somebody they're following up, they're chasing up with. So it can get a stack of phone calls. You might get 20 phone calls and only 2 leads because a load of the phone calls are like spammers or wrong numbers or whatever. But as a media buyer, I want to know that they're getting lots of phone calls. Maybe like we've set something off and they get a load of phone calls. I'm not going to rub my hands in glee going, yeah, you generated loads of phone calls for you, if they don't turn into leads and if they don't turn into new sales for the business. In fact, businesses don't want more inquiries for the same number of leads and clients, because that's clogging up their systems, clogging up their phones, their staff are like getting loads of emails and inquiring and not resulting in anything. So that's why we have these specified differently from number of leads, and we use the word inquiry. So this could be phone call inquiries. Okay. Um, what else? Yes, the business. What we can do is encourage the business to put in the information here for the whole business across all channels, just like how many phone calls did you have last week, whether it came from Google Ads or not. Because what can happen here is they might be running Facebook ads and all sorts of other things, and a business owner probably want to add more columns to the right here of like what's happening on Facebook, what's happening on Instagram, what's happening on other channels, and have everything added up here so that the business owner can look at it. So this is the total of clicks between Q, which is that one. So it's that plus that plus that. So we add more columns here. We can just change these formulas to include the clicks from Facebook, etc. So the business owner should be able to look and go, right, this is how my business is doing, and this is what I'm spending on across all my advertising channels. And that's what. So we encourage the business owners to fill this in, even if they think or don't know how many of the phone calls came from Google Ads, which they probably don't, especially at the beginning. They won't know that if you haven't got conversion tracking in place, and if you haven't proved conversion tracking is even working properly. So get this filled in. It's actually more important than trying to get these columns conversions filled in here, because if they go from having about 20 calls a week on average, we spent $1,000 last week. We went jumped to 80 phone calls and it was 20 for all of these. Well, then that spend is likely helping that, isn't it? So I think people get too hung up on conversion tracking and trying to get this number appearing, when actually the conversion is of an inquiry anyway, and we don't know how good quality they are unless like e-commerce, and you're actually getting a conversion is a sale, and then you get the actual conversion value, and we could add another column in here for conversion value. Why have I added impression share? I find impression share an important metric. I haven't filled it in for these. I could have pulled it out, but it was a bit fiddly. No, it would just been slightly fiddly. It wouldn't have been a big deal, but I couldn't really be bothered. Just going forward, if we have 100 impressions and our impression share was 20%, then we know that there were 500 available searches and we didn't show for 400 of them. So that's good to know. Sometimes I have another column in here of impression share lost due to budget. So like the client might have a budget set for the month or per day. Well, we normally set the monthly budget per day, and if we're losing 50% due to the budget, then that's important to know, because we can do a couple of things. We can either increase the budget if they're profitable. They might want to increase the budget. It's good for them to know that they're losing because they've capped it, or we can do other things like reduce the bids so that we get more clicks for the same budget, or maximize clicks or maximize conversions. Go to different bidding strategies. All right, hope that helps. Just wanted to show that Google Sheets can be very handy. Yes, we're copying data from Google Ads into here, but then that's because we can add our own commentary here, and then we can change these columns how we want them. The client might not call them our client might not call them clients. They might call them customers, or might call them online sales. We might have online bookings and then bookings over the phone. So we can add all those columns in here. So what we're trying to do is create like a one-page dashboard for the client, and they don't necessarily need to look at all this detail over on the right. Imagine we had like search, display, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, other channels that they're using, all to the right. Like they can scroll to the right. Going this way. Actually, I've removed all the columns to the right, but they can scroll to the right potentially and drill down and see what's happening on particular channels. But really, they just want to look over here and say, right, we have this many. Our ads showed this many times across all channels. We have this many clicks. This is our click-through rate. So cost per click, cost, blah, blah, conversions, conversion rate, cost per acquisition, which is cost per conversion, and it's resulted in this. And I could say, well, hold on, this says 300, and we've only had like in total XYZ here, so something's up. What's going on? That's one thing, but also gives them like a one-page overview of how they did last week, but also how it's doing previously, so what the trends are and what the pattern is. And then another thing that's important, the data is in rows. We see a lot of, like, especially accounting types, they will have the metrics here, and then columns will be the weeks, and the data is in columns. Okay, so then they're trying to read across, and you can't see patterns. We can't scan down. I can skim down this and see that, whoa, that one popped out. That's 15. I skimmed it. I didn't have to read them all. If I was to go from left to right like this, I can't skim going that way. That's reading. If I was to read 4737, the next one was 43, if all the weeks were columns along here and I'm trying to read left to right, I can't skim. You're forcing me to read. Whereas this, I can just skim down and that jumps out at me. Yeah, these jump out. I can spot things like this, and I can just scan down here. What's the biggest here? Like, I can see a 10, a 17. I can just look down the left and see the ones. Is there any twos? There's no twos. Okay, is there any? There's a 15s. Oh, there's a 17. If I had to read all that to the right, good luck. And then the other thing is, as we do this, I've sorted it so that the most important stuff, the most recent stuff, is at the top. Most people will have things sorted so that is the week commencing goes that way, so they always have to scroll to the bottom to find the latest stuff. And as you add more and more data, they keep having to scroll further. They shouldn't need to do that. And then what we'll often do is just do a screenshot of this and publish it, in a thread, or send it as an email or whatever, so the client just sees it and they don't have to go to this sheet all the time. Right, I hope that helps. I wanted to show how Google Sheets can be used for a dashboard for yourself or for clients. Also, how data is presented in rows so that you can skim down and scan and see patterns yourself. We're very good at spotting differences if the data is ordered properly.